Smart goals are everywhere. Every corporate training deck you've ever sat through, every January reset article, every wellness carousel with the cute fonts and the sunset backgrounds. Like, smart goals are everywhere and they feel so official, so universally agreed upon, right? I assumed that there must be decades of research behind them. There isn't. Not a single study has ever demonstrated that SMART goals outperform other approaches. Not one. And the origin story of where this thing actually came from is gonna either make you laugh or a bit angry. So today we're tearing up your goal setting playbook and replacing it with what the science actually says works. Ready? Let's go. Hey, I'm Noemie, former queen of bad habits and corporate go-getter turned well-being coach and personal growth junkie. And in a world full of overwhelming wellness advice, we're here to cut through the noise. This is your space to master healthy habits, transform your mindset, own your well-being, and design a life you love on your terms. We're ditching the highlight reels and embracing the whole messy, imperfect journey towards becoming our absolute best selves. You're the author of your own story. So are you ready to write the next chapter? Let's go, and welcome to Unwritten Potential. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Unwritten Potential with me, Noemie. I am so happy that you're here. This is part 2 of the spring clear out. Last week, we cleared the voice in your head, the cognitive distortions that quietly run your mood and your confidence. If you haven't listened to that one yet, go back, do it. It's called The Audacity of Your Own Brain, and I think it's a good one. This week, though, we're clearing something else. The way you set goals. We're talking about SMART goals. They've never really worked for me. And now that I know that there's no science behind them, it makes me feel a lot better because every January, I used to sit down with a fresh notebook, one of those pretty notebooks with like a nice leather cover. And I would write my goals for the year. And very often I would try to use SMART goals, right? Because that's the tool that I was given. So specific, check, measurable, check, attainable, relevant, time-bound. I'm sure you're very familiar with SMART goals. And usually by mid-February, I would have quietly abandoned every single one of them, while my pretty notebook would just, be in a drawer and I would never look at it again. If that sounds familiar, here's what I need you to hear. It's not a you problem. It was always the tool. So let me tell you the full story because it's kind of wild. This chap, George Doran, 1981, he's a corporate planning director at Washington Water Power in the US, like a water company. And he writes a one-pager article for Management Review about how managers should write clear objectives for their teams. One page. No references, no data. It was designed for management objectives, not for your health, not for your habits, not for the complicated, messy, deeply personal business of changing how you live. And for over 40 years, nobody checked whether SMART goals actually worked. Until 2022, when a team of researchers published a systematic review in the journal Health Psychology Review. They looked at 147 studies on goal setting in health contexts, and they found nothing. Not a single study showed that SMART goals outperform other approaches. Isn't that mad? So here we are, the most popular goal-setting tool in the world. Zero evidence. Originally written for Dave in accounting at the water company to ship his report by Friday. And yet, we've all been using it to try to change our lives. Mental. So if SMART doesn't work, then what does? Because while SMART was becoming gospel, actual goal scientists were studying what makes people follow through. And what they found comes down to one thing. The goal has to actually be yours. Not yours because you wrote it down, yours because it connects to something you genuinely care about. When there's a real match between what you're pursuing and what you value, you don't just try harder. You can sustain efforts for months. And when you get there, it actually feels good. But when a goal looks right on paper and doesn't connect to anything real inside of you, even achieving it doesn't make you feel better, right? You tick the box and wonder why you still feel a bit empty. And here's the part that got me. Many people are actively pursuing goals they neither want nor like, and they can't see it because the goals look correct, the goals look right, they tick the boxes, they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. Yes, yes, yes. They're also someone else's idea of a good life. I call these borrowed goals, and they are everywhere. It goes even deeper than values, though. When a goal feels like something a person like me does, difficulty gets reframed as important. It is hard because it matters. But when a goal feels disconnected from who you are, difficulty becomes evidence that you should quit. This is hard because it's not for me. Same goal on paper, but completely different experience in your body. This is why exercise 3 times a week completely changes one person's life and makes another person miserable. It's not about the goal. It's about whether the goal belongs to you or not. And SMART has no way of telling you which kind you're holding. Okay, so here's what does work. If you take one thing from this, make it this. There are only 2 shifts that actually matter. Shift number 1, focus on what you do, not where you end up. When researchers compared process goals with outcome goals, process goals won by a landslide, like not even close. So, write for 30 minutes before breakfast is a process goal. Finish my book is an outcome goal. Eat vegetables with dinner, that's a process goal. Fix my diet is an outcome goal. Process goals work because they point your attention at something you can actually do today. They build confidence with every tick. And if you listen to last week's episode on cognitive distortions, you'll spot why. Outcome goals often are an all or nothing trap, but process goals aren't. Shift number 2, root the new behavior to something you're already doing. This is the bit that changed how I coach. And if you've been here for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of tiny habits, micro habits. And the idea is embarrassingly simple, right? After something I already do, I will do this new tiny thing. By pre-deciding what you'll do in a specific moment, you create a mental link between the situation and the response. When the moment shows up, the behavior kind of fires without you having to negotiate with yourself about it. I call these rooted routines, new behaviors anchored to things you already do, not floating around in your calendar waiting for motivation to show up, right? Because motivation is not coming. It's not going to magically appear, but it's wired into the structure of your existing day. So for example, after I pour my morning coffee, I'll write for 10 minutes. Or after I eat lunch, I'll just go for a quick walk around the block. Or after I close my laptop for the day, I'll do 5 minutes of stretching. Notice the shape here. After thing I already do, I will this new tiny thing. The after is doing the heavy lifting here. It turns an existing moment into a launch pad. Instead of asking your brain to generate momentum from scratch at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday when you can barely remember your name, you're so tired. So here's your experiment for this week. Pick the one area where you keep starting and stopping. You know the one. It's been on every list you've written since January, possibly since last January. Now forget measuring it. Forget deadlines. Forget making it achievable and relevant in all those other boxes. Instead, ask yourself 2 things. Does this actually matter to me? Not the version of me that looks impressive on paper, but to the one who's actually living this life. And what's the smallest version of this I can root to something I already do every day? Write one rooted routine. So after I do this thing that I'm already doing, I will do this new tiny action. Put it somewhere you will see. Do it for 2 weeks. That's the whole experiment, nothing more. Spring is here. The fresh start is real. But this time, skip the worksheet, my friends. Start with something that's actually yours. Thank you so much for listening and for being here with me today. This is part 2 of the Spring Clear Out, and I hope it's made you look at your goals a little differently. If this one hit home, send it to the person who's been beating themselves up about their New Year resolution since February. It wasn't them, it was their framework. Maybe this episode will be useful. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can head over to unwrittenpotential.com for the newsletter and the podcast. Take care of yourself. Much love, and I will see you next week. Bye.